Good morning. Yeah, welcome back to Mood House, and today is May 17th. Is that correct? May 17th, 2017. So we're continuing our journey in Jacob's life, one man's journey, and we're now in the last section of Jacob's life that we'll be looking at, and it's always been labeled the blessings of Jacob to his 12 sons, although we've kind of contested that a little bit because we're trying to understand what this means, these blessings, in light of the evidence of the text. And guys, it's these kinds of things that really drive me. I love to do this work. I love to do the research. I love to see what other people say. I love to think about it. I have a high regard for the scriptures like you do, and I just believe that, for me, the study and the trying to understand it, it draws me closer to God. And once I see the orchestration, of the scriptures, and so that pursuit is something that's been part of my life for, quite some time. And it's times like these puzzles. This is not easy stuff we're looking at. There's a lot of debate, a lot of questions on how these are put together and what relevancy these blessings have for us today in the church. A lot of debate, and it's not easy stuff. But we're going to go on this morning, and we're going to look at the second blessing, which is actually unique in the sense that the blessing is given towards two of the sons. And once we read the text, you'll understand why. So if somebody could read Genesis 49, verses 5 and 7, let's read that text first.
Love to. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their swords are weapons of violence. Let me not enter their council. Let me not join their assembly, for they have killed men in their anger and hamstrung oxen as they pleased. Cursed be their anger, so fierce their fury, so cruel. I will scatter them in Jacob and disperse them in Israel.
All right, so again, thank you, Dave. And again, it is very apparent that we have a hard time attaching the word blessing to this. And I've actually created another term for these utterances of Jacob. What did I call them? Prophetic testament? His testament, when you think of testament, his final testament of, and they have bearing on the future. They're definitely prophetic in nature. So thanks for reading that. Now the background, we're looking at one blessing to two of the sons. And again, the context here is the hospice bed. Jacob is in the bed, and picture all 12 sons, all of the sons around their father, and as he's going through. He started with Reuben. We looked at that for 2 weeks, the oldest, and now he's going to Simeon and Levi next in birth order, and sons like Reuben, sons of Leah. So there they are, and to get the background, I think it would be good for us to read the text in chapter 34, 25 through 31, and I'll go ahead and read that since I'm here. I've had a head start on this. So this is the story that Jacob is referring to in his utterance towards those two sons. Verse 25 of chapter 34 reads, "Now it came about on the third day," and you remember the context here, they tricked the men of Shechem to be, talked them into getting circumcised. And that then they could have this relationship that would be in their minds legitimized, and then Dinah could then be appropriately given over to these people. So on the third day, that is after the circumcision took place, when the men of the community of Shechem, were in pain that two of Jacob's sons, here they are, Simeon and Levi, second and third in birth order, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came upon the city unawares, as it says in the New American, and killed every male. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah from Shechem's house, and went forth. Jacob's sons came upon the slain and looted the city, because they had defiled their sister Dinah. They took their flocks, their herds, and their donkeys, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field. It was comprehensive. They captured and looted all of their wealth, and all of their little ones, and all their wives, even all that was in the houses. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, quote, "You have brought trouble on me by making me odious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And my men, being few in number, they will gather together against me and attack me, and I will be destroyed, I and my household." End of quote. 31, their response to their father was, should they treat our sister as a harlot? So the text reads there a very disconnected relationship. Jacob is here, the sons are here, and their primary motive here is revenge, unleashing revenge upon this entire community. But I remember when we studied this, it's just so hard to believe that something like this happens by the people of God. Amazing. So, what I have done is, I've done an analysis. We're going to look at this. We're going to focus in on these words of Jacob. And a good way to do that is just to kind of put the words in a graphic way so we can kind of understand it. This is from my work, my head, so you can look at it and then vote and see what you think. And I know you can't, I know Dick's trying to read the little words. I'll read those to you, Dick, because I know you can't. You know, we just can't get the whole thing up here. So here it reads, Simeon and Levi, this is Jacob's words. Simeon and Levi, notice it is in the third person. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Okay, my first thought is, what does that mean? They're brothers. Yes, we all know they are brothers. Well, that is a descriptive term here. They're brothers in this way, descriptive. Their swords are implements of violence. In this way, their swords being used as implements of violence, in this way they are brothers. Birds of a feather flock together, so to speak. They are both identified with this key word here. Key word in the text is violence, as you'll see. They are using their swords as implements of violence. And so, therefore, they are connected together as brothers. They are blood brothers, and they are brothers in this atrocity that took place in Shechem. Now, the text goes over here, and that's like your return on your old typewriter here. And the comment here is Jacob's personal response, and I've got the word judgment here. It's a judgment. He's making a judgment on this statement in verse 5. Quote, "Let my soul not enter into their council. Let not my glory be united with their assembly." In your own words, what is he saying here? What is the nature of this judgment that he is making?
Sounds like he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Right.
It's rejection. Definitely. Yeah. "I will not enter into their council, and let not my glory be united with their assembly." I want nothing to do with them. Exactly, Art. Okay, so there's one. Now, supportive reason then follows. Okay, here's the judgment, and now the supportive reason. Because in their anger they slew men, and in their self-will they lamed oxen. And I've got a box drawn around this just because we want to focus in on that quote. And it ties back to violence. The violence is shown primarily fueled, the violence is fueled by anger and self-will. And the sword is the tool, is the instrument used to exercise their anger and their self-will in a violent kind of way. The tie back is here. Note the order. You know, we read the text, and the text says, their anger they slew men, their self-will they lamed oxen. It just seems like we would have worded it, the oxen first, and then the homicide would be second. But it's kind of interesting. Why? Maybe in the text, well, gee, it's not justifiable. But they even went to the extent of laming. How they did that? They cut the hamstring on the animals, to lame the animals. That just seems, homicide is terrible. But they even went to the extent to lame the innocent animals as well. I mean, it's brutal. This is just brutal stuff. So, I don't know why the order is like that, but that's kind of what I came up with. So then, again, return to verse 7. Jacob's, and the comment here is now Jacob's patriarchal, okay, here is his personal response in verse 6. Personal response, I will not enter into their council, and I will let not my glory be united with their assembly. Now I'm, remember how Jacob has two names, Israel and Jacob. Now I'm thinking he's responding from this patriarchal position in the family. And his response is, cursed be, curse. Here's that word I don't like, but it's here in the text, so what do I do with it? Cursed be, now it's important, what is he cursing? He's cursing their anger, and he's cursing their wrath. Okay, that makes it a little easier for me because does not say, cursed be Simeon and cursed be Levi. He's saying, cursed be their anger, which is, again, tied right up to here. Here's anger. See how this all flows right up here like this. Their anger, for it is fierce. Descriptive of the anger. The anger is fierce anger, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I think that ties right in with the laming of the oxen. It is cruel and it is fierce. And notice how I've got it tied up here. We got fierceness, cruel, anger, self-will, and it all pointing to this violence that was unleashed on these people. Finally, now Jacob's he's got his patriarchal response from his position, which is judgment, and now Jacob's prophetic response. There's a prophetic nature to all of these quote blessings. And I think now he's taking the position of the mouthpiece of God. This is my view. He says, he goes to the first person, and I think he's speaking as the mouthpiece of God Almighty, and he's saying, I will disperse them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Again, judgment, judgment, judgment. It's hard to get a blessing out of this one, guys. Although the curse, I picked this up, and I want you to see it. What he's cursing is their anger and their wrath. So, there it is. And then the question is, what in the heck do we do with this?
Mike, there seems to be in those two levels, the anger, they slew men, the anger is fierce. That sounds to me almost like that's when you blow up. That's when your gut response, but below it goes self-will, the lame oxen, and the wrath is cruel. That's sort of the follow through. I mean, it's not like they blow up and, oh gosh, I'm sorry. They blow up and they say, now let's wrap this up. It's sort of the intent to continue. So there's a deep level of damage, violence here.
And I think what lends credence to that is the text itself that we referred to when they were confronted, even though Jacob's case is very lame, it's very self-focused. Their response was, should our sister be treated like a harlot? It was self-righteous.
Yeah.
Very, very hardened, self-right, very religious. And isn't it great none of that happens today?
Glad we got over that,
Yeah, good thing we got over that. Yeah, right. Okay, so, and again, we're looking at these, we're focused in on this week, we're focused in on the text. And now I'm going to kind of move to what I think is an idea here. Next week, we're going to take it even further and try to, again, look at this from a larger perspective of how this all fits. What is the meaning here? So, here we go. The idea, at least from my perspective in this, is what I see is violence, and again in the shaded box is the key idea here. Violence. Whereas Reuben's key idea would have been grasping for something he already had, this idea is violence. Violence. The violence is fueled by anger and self-will, as the text has pointed out.